Well, yes, indeed. We'll start off focusing on the power sector this morning. We've got Senator Eyinnaya Abaribe, who joins us now. He's the chairman, Senate Committee on Mining, Power and Metallurgy. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Yes, it's power and metallurgy.
Okay.
Yes.
What happens with the other committee? We know about power, we know about mining.
I mean the Committee on Metallurgy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's part of our mandate, and we were with the Minister of Mines and Solid Mineral, I think, the other day. Things that relate to the Ajaokuta steel, Itakwe, and all that is part of metallurgy. So.
Okay, hopefully we'll see if we could touch on that before we end the show. Let's start with power. It's huge. Whenever I talk about power, everybody has a comment or two to make. And I know lately, several reports about the Senate rejecting any tariff hike or subsidy for that sector. What's actually going on with the committee now about us achieving this stable supply?
Yes, what the committee did is that we had a joint session with the committee in the House of Reps, and then we did an intervention. The power sector brought in every member of the power value chain. That is from the DISCOs, the distribution companies, which the whole public interfaces with, backwards, all the way down to the gas companies for the thermal stations. So within that whole chain, we brought it in everybody. The reason is simple too, and I'm going to, let's say, describe it in biblical fashion. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So everybody in the value chain has, in one way or the other, fallen short.
Including the consumers?
Including the consumers. And I'll tell you where the consumers come in, in it. And so what we felt was that there had been so much effort. There had been so much money put in. There had been so much going on in the power sector, not just today, coming back from time. And yet, we're still at a particular level that we never seem to overcome, and we felt that it was time for the legislature to really ask the proper questions, not just to leave it for the executive to deal with, but to now say, what are the real problems? How do we break this jinx? I recall that on that day I started by saying that sometime, I think it was about 1982, Shagari brought in late Gamaliel Onoso, who everybody in Nigeria knew was a big corporate guru, could do everything, and told him to deal with the problem. At that time, it used to be called ECN. And when he finished, he said, only Jesus Christ can solve the problems of ECN. And then I also said that if you fast forward from that time to Obasanjo's time, Obasanjo went and brought in late Bola Ige, who, as everybody knows, that is erudite and very, very principled Nigerian. And everybody thought that he could solve the power problem. But by the time he finished, he also said, well, that resolving the problem of NEPA, that's what it used to be called then, was akin to turning water into wine. Another biblical reference. And so by the time we now got down to Jonathan's time and he brought in Professor Nebo, Vice Chancellor of University of Nigeria and Soka, and very well-known scientist. And when he came, we also asked him, how do you solve it? I said, oh no, I'm going to bind and cast away all those witches and wizards who have been dealing with the power sector. So at every point, you will see that people throw up their hands in despair because of the enormity of the problems all along the chain. And so we felt, no, this is man-made. This is not...
Well, if I could follow up on that, that's Batonaji.
One person, my point exactly, one person did succeed, Batonaji.
Yes, but it was forced to resign.
To help to unbundle the sector, because it was felt that it was a monolith and it needed to be privatized, and it needed to, and he did succeed in doing that, but you could see that, of course, subsequently, we still are faced today with the problem of not being able to rise above 3,000.
How was he able to? How was he able to make sure people had electricity? People are not really concerned whether you have 1,000 megawatts or you have 10,000 or 100,000 megawatts. They just want the electricity in their homes and constant. He was able to do that with the minimal that we have in the national grid. So what magic did he do? Is he a magician?
No, he's not a magician. He's just very focused Nigerian. And what we need. We need people who continue to focus on the problems and deal with it. Let's put it this way. With the increasing expansion in economic activities, in the number of people in Nigeria, in the people who need power, you need to continue to ramp up at every time. But you will find that you will ramp up, then something happens, and then you come all the way down. And so those things that lead to that was what was supposed to have been tackled by the privatization process. And of course, when it goes on, people cannot get power and all that, questions naturally will arise, and people will say, why, if we privatize in order to get efficiency and get more power and get stable power and we don't get it, why? You know, or should we go back? Should we review the privatization? And all manners of questions. And that was what we dealt with. And I think we are getting closer to resolution of the problem.
Did you think in your meetings that perhaps the privatization process that was reported to have been fraught with irregularities is the reason why this comatose situation has continued to persist?
Yes, I will say this, and you must at every point put it in context. That is, when I started, I said everybody has sinned. Government has not done its own part. The players within the system have also not done their own part. And so we felt at that point that it will not serve any useful purpose to point fingers, do the blame game, because once you go back and forth on the blame game, what you will always get is this whole mess of confusion that we have. And we felt that, okay, let's break this whole thing up. Let's see, where are the problems? For the distribution companies, the problems hover around tariff. They claim that the cost of power given to them is higher than the price at which they are supposed to sell it, if you put it at the most basic. And so there's a gap. Who pays for that gap? They are being made to pay for that gap. And so they feel that that is too much of a burden on just one side of that sector. Of course, those who are generating power, as far as they are concerned, they have no business with the distribution companies because they sell power through the bulk electricity trading company, which is NBET, that have contracts with them. And so the bulk electricity trading company also has contracts with the discos, and they claim the discos are not bringing out enough money to pay for the power given to them. And of course, when you ask the discos, they will bring all manners of and all sorts of problems associated with the distribution line. And of course, like you asked before, at the point of the consumer, where have they failed? The consumer has failed, even at where we are now with, of course, diversion, not being able to pay for the power they consume.
That means you're painting all the consumers with one brush.
No, not all consumers. You just asked who are the players and where are the problems. And
doesn't that happen because the players allow that to happen? Because many of them will tell you, look, if you meter your transformer and meter several other areas, you are able to measure what exactly goes to where.
Yes, the consumers are entitled to be metered, and the Electricity Regulatory Commission had also given deadlines and this to the distribution companies for how to meter everybody. Each one has a target to meet, and they are falling short of that target. That's a fact.
That defeats the metering.
Oh, well, no. What I'm saying, they are falling short of that target. And so, the real question here for us as the legislature is, why? Why have they fallen short of the target? What are the sanctions that are supposed to be imposed on them that made them not to? And what are the remedial measures that you're going to have to take? And of course, some things came out. First of all, we don't have capacity to produce the number. I think the total capacity for meters in this country is about 3 million meters a year. And I think that's grossly insufficient for about 60 million consumers.
That's what those assembling and manufacturing.
I will call it assembling because, you know, those critical components, if you're going to do smart metering, you're going to have to, of course, have motherboards and so forth. I don't think we have those kind of capacities.